Hey there folks, Rinium T here, and welcome back to Echoes from Novabox. Thank you Player2PR for the code for the game on Steam. We started off Chapter 2 last time, and saw a vision of a burning morgue. We saw a burning morgue, but anyway. We are now on the next day, and we have more questions now. And we're beginning it with a visit to the police station. Again. I need to know what happened. How had the fire started? Sheriff was expecting me. At her post as always, her expression as inscrutable as ever gave me no clues what I could expect. Something told me that it wasn't good news. Ah, Fox, come in. Good morning, Sheriff. I suppose you're here for news about the morgue. Our service managed to get the fire under control, but there's extensive damage. Jeremy's body was completely incinerated. That building's still standing, but we've lost all the archives. I'll go and check it out later. There might be some clues. Perfect! That's what I was about to ask you. But you should go back to the crime scene too. The abandoned factory. Yes, I have to confess, the arson completely blindsided me. Believe there's somebody who will stop at nothing to cover the tracks and protect themselves. Maybe you missed an important clue at the factory. I think it's worth checking. Okay, I'll take care of it. Anything else, Fox? Yes, I'm gonna meet another of Arthur's patients today, Magnus Lindgren. Sound familiar? I can tell he's on the list I've got for distribution of medications, but he's usually fairly reserved. And you'll tell me what this is all about after you've spoken to him. I'll do that. And if you need anything, you know where to find me. I'm gonna leave with 3 new leads. Where should I start? I'll just go to Magnus. Liz was waiting for me. She seemed worried and tired. Oh, Mr. Fox, Mr. Lindgren is here. I told him that you wanted to talk to him. He's waiting for you. Let's ask how she is. Are you okay, Liz? You look tired. No, I'm not too good, Mr. Fox. Everything that's going on in town at the moment is very disturbing. I remember things, horrible things, fragments, snatches of things I'd rather forget forever. Mr. Morrison won't stop asking me questions. He wants us to go somewhere, to remember. I don't want to remember. Go somewhere? Where? What do you mean by go somewhere? Where does Morrison want to take you? I was suddenly enraged. Stop it! Stop with all your questions. I don't want to think about it. Don't make me remember. It's too horrible. What happened to us? I was speechless for a moment. I hadn't expected such fury from this young woman. She seemed to have to make an immense effort to get a hold of herself. A moment later, she was herself again. You'll have to excuse me, but I'm going to let you introduce yourself to Mr. Lindgren. I'm going to go home to try and rest. I don't feel very well. I'm sorry. Before I had a chance to reply, Liz had already disappeared into the kitchen. I felt bad for her, but I didn't know what I could do to help her. I let her go. Magnus Lindgren was a gray-haired old man. He was smoking a cigarette at the back of the diner. When his keen gaze rested on me, I was struck by the calm strength that seemed to emanate from him. Ricky Fox, pleased to meet you. Magnus Lindgren. I'd like to be able to say I was just as pleased to meet you, Detective, but I'm afraid this interview is rather more a necessity than a pleasure. I understand. All I've wanted since the beginning is to understand what happened to my friend. Because of your friend, our community's delicate balance has been destroyed, but your investigation is simply trampling over the remains. In that case, help me. 2 people have died to protect your secret. Don't you think it's time to put the cards on the table? Oh, but that's why I agreed to meet you, Detective. As for Raymond, I believe the old poor man was condemned long ago. What makes you say that? Raymond was the first to remember, with the help of your friend, Dr. Petrovsky. His reaction was to blame the whole world, and to do it loudly and disruptively. If one of us hadn't taken things in their own hands to silence him, then the authorities would have taken care of it sooner or later. Remember? Remember what? I don't recall everything yet, but it's starting to come back to me as well. Let me tell you from the beginning. Agnes took a deep breath. His town, Greenhearth, was, for a long time, a dormitory town for a special research center, referred to by the code name Viracocha. I never really knew who was in charge of all that. I suppose it was some more or less independent unit of the Central Television Agency. A few years ago, something happened. The research center was shut down. Victims of the incident were rehoused in town under the authorities' control. Petrovsky's patients. Yes, the Greenhearth 10. That's what Raymond's poem had been talking about, the 10 little devils. They've been kept sedated for all these years. We've needed special medication since the incident with side effects on our memory. At least that's what the doctors told us at the time. Didn't you wonder if that memory loss was intentional? Perhaps, but what I can tell you is that we all wanted to forget the incident. None of us wanted to remember. I have nothing but fragments, images of what happened, but I can't. I don't want to talk about it. Perfect enough to make anybody lose their mind. Raymond. Yes? Your friend, Petrovsky, was ditched here after the previous doctor died. Quickly realized that something was wrong in this town. He wanted to dig around, particularly with Raymond. Do you know who killed him? No, I wouldn't exclude the suicide theory so quickly if I were you. He said, this town's poisonous. You can't get too close and expect to come away unscathed. Advise you to pack your bags and leave without a second look, but I suppose that's out of the question, of course. Anyway, there you are. Arthur, Raymond, now you. Provoked a chain reaction. Now all of us are beginning to get our memories back, making this town a powder keg ready to blow. Okay, if you have any other questions, go ahead. I'll do my best to answer. Who exactly are they, these 10? You've already met most of them. One of them, of course, is Raymond, Oscar, Liz, Pedro. You know, Pedro was a brilliant scientist before the incident. One of the brains behind the project. Look what he's become. Who else? Harry Graham. He's in charge of security. Inez Balkader and Adeline Lefrev. Two women's names. Could one of them be the one who had searched Arthur's cabin? Stephen Lloyd? I don't think you'll be able to meet him. Why not? He disappeared shortly after the incident. Don't you know what happened to him? No, before he disappeared, he found religion. He was fervent, almost a fanatic. Became sort of a preacher, a zealot, and then one day he upped and left town and hasn't been seen since. That's that. Liz, Pedro, Oscar, Raymond, Terry, Ines, Adeline, Stephen, and Agnes. That was 9 names. My calculations are correct. There's one missing, I think. Yes, you're right. Abel Smith. He disappeared a long time ago, too. Manus tried to conceal his existence, or had he truly forgotten? What can you tell me about this Abel Smith? Not much, I'm afraid. Abel was always a loner, rather eccentric. As I told you, he disappeared a long time ago. Something told me he wasn't being completely honest. But he seemed willing to help me, so I decided not to press him. For the time being, at least. You know why Raymond tried to sabotage your car? Raymond was responsible for several attempts of sabotage before he died. Petrovsky, Ernest Bull, the sheriff, and you. Do you know what reason he could have had to want you dead? Magnus lit another cigarette with a sigh. Poor Raymond. You met him, didn't you, before he died? Yes, I asked the question briefly when I read in Greenhearth. By the end, he'd become completely paranoid. He was convinced that everyone was after him, including Dr. Petrovsky, who'd moved heaven and earth to help him. As for me, I was worried about him. I went to see him, to try to help him, to reason with him, after he cut ties with Petrovsky. He didn't want to know. He threw me out of the factory, literally. Next day I almost had an accident in my old sedan. As I say, no good deed ever goes unpunished. There's not much to add, but I do understand what you're getting at with your question. You're looking for a motive for the murder, aren't you? I didn't hold it against him, I assure you. I knew he wasn't well by the end. His mental health had really gone downhill. I knew Raymond a long time. His life hadn't been easy. It grieves me that I couldn't help him. I see. Thank you, Magnus. In some circumstances, a quarrel that had gotten out of hand could certainly constitute a plausible motive. I was finding it hard to believe in that theory. Magnus really didn't seem the hot-tempered type. Do you know the young woman? I'm looking for a young woman. Brown, shoulder-length hair, slim, dark complexion. Sound familiar? Yes, it's one of Petrovsky's patients, Inez Balkader. Matches your description. Well, what can you tell me about her? She's usually pretty quiet. She's one of the few patients who managed to rebuild their life after the incident. But since Raymond's death, has she become unstable too? Let's just say she has more to lose than most of the other patients. Pedro, Raymond, myself, to be perfectly honest, our lives stopped after the incident. You know where I can find her? Not really. Sorry. Should be prepared to meet with some difficulties. I don't think she'll want to talk to you. I see. Was Magnus trying to protect her by refusing to tell me more? It was hard to say. Guess that's all we're getting out of them. Oh god. Magnus is just gonna detective. Yeah, it's just nothing. Go to Gianna, I guess. Nothing. We'll do some searching. Search the morgue. Gianna hadn't been kidding. The interior of the morgue had been completely gutted by the flames. There would be slim pickings on clues here. Except that file that's sitting right there. It was clearly the work of the murderer, but what I didn't understand was what proof they'd been trying to erase. Had there been something on Raymond's body that would have given away the identity of the murderer? It didn't seem likely. One file partially escaped the flames. Fortunately, it wasn't the autopsy report, but the list of requests to see Raymond's body. Apparently some of the patients had wanted to visit him. Did they simply wish to say goodbye, or did they have some other reason for the request? Hard to say. There was another thing that aroused my curiosity. The file's recipient. It was addressed to Tilkits, an alias for sure. Strange. I knew the Bureau was interested in the case, but did this mean that the Central Intelligence Agency was watching the town too? I got the name down in my pocketbook. Maybe it would mean something to someone. Can't get that. Handprint. Fingerprints. That looks like a boot print, though. But kind of weird. They were clean and very visible, which would make identifying their owner's child's play for the police. I found it hard to imagine that they could belong to the pyromaniac responsible for the fire. On the other hand, anyone could get lucky. The sheriff's team would have certainly lifted them already. Made a note to ask on my next visit. I feared there wasn't much to be gotten from the charred remains of the building. Still, I had a few new elements. I just had to hope they'd bring me a bit closer to the truth. Let's just try the factory. I was used to crime scenes, but it wasn't every day I returned from a murder scene where I'd have been the witness. I hoped to find something here which would put me on the murderer's trail. I never thought my visit to a disused factory would thrust my investigation in a whole new direction. This tobacco pouch. The smell that escaped it was unmistakably pipe tobacco. Why had Pedro come here? He had been deeply affected by Raymond's death, but it told me nothing worthwhile. I had to pay a call on the mechanic. Movie. Something. Okay, yeah, it was getting close to a cigarette butt. I won't go so far as to say it was still smoking, but it was fresh. Very fresh. I didn't encounter many smokers since I arrived in Greenhearth, except Pedro and his pipe. I may suppose that Magnus had passed this way. Not to mention that the brand of his stuff coincided with the brand of his packet. I hadn't found any new clues which had helped the investigation of Raymond's death. However, at least 2 people had recently been here. Pedro Ferra, the mechanic, and probably Magnus Lindgren, if I trusted the cigarette stub I found. I'm curious to know why. Well, let's just go down the list. Something else. I found the empty file. Talk about the file found. I found a file at the morgue that escaped the fire. Oh, what's in it? Nothing particularly interesting, just a list of visits. Yes, we received several requests from civilians. They were all refused, of course. The civilians were all patients of Petrovsky. Does that surprise you? Raymond was attached to the other patients. I suppose that they simply wanted to pay their last respects. Sure, I wonder if one of them, the murderer, that wanted to get rid of an incriminating clue in Raymond's body. Look, Fox, I read the admission report and the preliminary autopsy report. There was nothing on Raymond which might have been conclusive for the investigation. Don't worry about that. Are you certain? It wouldn't be the first time your teams have missed something with this case. No, you're right, Fox. I can't be certain. In any case, this lead looks like it's going nowhere. We haven't got any way of checking your hypothesis. Anything else? Yes, the report is addressed to a Tilkits. A code name, I guess. Does it mean anything to you? Yes, I know that name, but I've never met the person behind the alias. All I can tell you is that it's someone high up in the intelligence service. That this person has a keen interest in what happens in my town. They're CC for all the outgoing files. I see. Fingerprints. There were clearly visible fingerprints at the morgue. I suppose you dusted them? Yes. Did you get a match? Yes, but the match might surprise you. All ears. The only twin Italian scientists officially reported missing in the 1930s. When Ettore Margerana. That's unusual. I didn't know the central database went back that far. Me, neither, to be honest. Guess you've got it down as a false positive. Normally, yes, but after everything we see in this investigation so far, I've got to say I don't know who or what to trust anymore. His prints turn out to be right? Yes, it's mind-blowing. Guess we better ignore the sleeve for the time being. Seeing as how we have no idea how to use it, I think that's our only option for the moment anyway, Fox. Alright. I don't think we'll get anything out of... We've had nothing earnest, but we'll try it. Oh, Mr. Fox, I was hoping you'd drop by to say hello. Good morning, Bob. Have you got something to tell me? Listening. There's a movement among Petrovsky's patients. I've got the feeling that recent events are pushing things forward. Movement. Like what? Let's say there's a certain restlessness in town. Something is going to happen. Mr. Morrison has been seen in the company of several Petrovsky's patients. I know what he's up to. And not exactly about, unfortunately, but I do hope you'll be able to tip me off just so you keep your eyes and ears open, detective, as you know so well how to do. Sure, I intend to. And thank you. Still, do take care. I get the feeling that the medication Petrovsky was giving them is having less and less effect. The medication was losing its effectiveness? I hadn't seen it from that perspective, but what Ernest said makes sense. It's been the strange behavior of most of the patients. I see. If that's really the case, they're going to get more and more unstable. And recent events aren't going to help. One of them has been murdered and his body incinerated in the fire at the morgue. If I was them, I'd be feeling pretty anxious. Anyway, I'm counting on you. Can I do anything else for you, my dear friend? Does Tilkits mean anything to you? Of course it means something to me. Oh, where did you hear that? That's a code name. Not your concern, Bill. Come on, detective. Don't be so defensive. Anyway, it's not like that information could have come from many places. Let me guess. The sheriff's office? No, you want to go snooping through Gianna Walter's stuff without permission. Ah, I know. The morgue. You went looking for clues to the pyromaniac's identity, and you stumbled across a file that had escaped the flames. Is that it? It was extremely astute. Probably too astute for his own good. So, do you know who it is? Nobody knows who it is, Mr. Fox. Tilkits is a straw man, a faceless alias who appears over and over again in classified documents. All I can tell you is that, except in the very highest spheres of the intelligence service, nobody really knows who he is. What has he got to do with Greenhearth? I don't know exactly how much he's involved in what's happening here. I can tell you that he's taking a close interest. Having said that, I'm confident that with these recent developments, we'll finally learn more about his identity. I see. Thank you, Mr. Bull. Bull had been honest and disarmingly frank, quite unlike his usual self. Did he have his own reasons to want to unmask Tilkits? So Magnus. Tilkits mean anything? If I say Tilkits, does that mean anything to you? Magnus, who up until then had been completely dispassionate, went as a sheep. In his eyes was unmistakable. That's a name I hope to never hear again. Tilkits, yes. He was the head of the Viracocha project. Why does he scare you so much? That man has no soul. The incident, it all happened because of him. Him and his right-hand man. The foreman. The foreman? Yes, or the controller, or the overseer, if you prefer. They named him after his job because nobody knew his name. Just Tilkits' deputy. He was everywhere or nowhere. No one really knew who he was. The master of camouflage and concealment. All I can tell you is nobody messed with him. What happened to him after the incident? Don't know. Nobody knows. Hope. We all hope. No, that he didn't survive. You think he might have resurfaced? I don't know. It's possible. Could be a reason for Raymond's death. And Petrovsky's? Possibly. Fox. Possibly. Well, I can tell you in any case. I bought from one of your cigarettes at the disused factory where Raymond lived. What were you doing there? I followed Pedro. Pedro? I'm worried about him. Since Raymond's death, he seems more lost than usual. I see. In that case, what was Pedro doing there? He's got it into his head to investigate for himself. I think Inez Belcado talked him into it. In any case, it was him. She was with him when they went to the factory. You know what they were doing there? No idea. They were looking for something, but they didn't find it. That's all I can tell you. Sorry. It didn't help me much. I'll just have to go and question Pedro about his tobacco pouch and hope for better results. What about Oscar? We'll leave Pedro for last. I went to the diner, but Oscar wasn't there. I certainly knew how to keep a low profile. Fine. We'll go to Pedro. Hola, Senor Fox. I'm happy to see you. Always a pleasure talk to great detective Ricky Fox El Magnifico. I'd like to meet Dr. Petrovsky's patients, you know. You said you knew her? No se puede, no la conozca. You insisted on talking to Raymond, and now Raymond está muerto. But El Senor Fox is a great detective. He can solve the case without my friends die, no? I am pequeño investigado. I help the Senor Fox in his investigation. Don't try to investigate Pedro. You'll put yourself in danger. Sí, entiendo. No peligro para mí. Pedro held me responsible for Raymond's death. It wasn't me who pulled the trigger, but still he wasn't completely wrong. Now he got it into his head to investigate for himself. I found a way to talk to the other Pedro, the one who could help me with my investigation. The one who could tell me more about the identity of the young woman I'd seen on the video recordings in Arthur's cabin. Pedro, I need to talk to the other Pedro? ¿Qué? This is gonna be tricky. Pipe smoker. I'd like to talk to him, please. Soy muy triste for Raymond. I sleep because I'm sad. There was no point insisting. If I've shown how urgent the situation was, I managed to make him resurface. And no guarantee it would work, but I couldn't see any other solution. I just had to find some clues to show him and exercise a lot of patience. Found your tobacco pouch at the disease factory, where Raymond lived. Gracias, Senor Fox. I was looking for it everywhere. You really are a good detective. Tell me, Pedro, what were you doing there? No sé. Para mi amigo Raymond. Don't play the fool, Pedro. I know you were there with Inez Belcado. I want to meet her. I don't remember. Sorry, Senor Fox. I know it was pointless. Perhaps with more proof he'd finally crack. All I could do was go back to the factory and hope to find further elements. Oh, I guess we're going back. Oh, I knew that Pedro was protecting this Inez Belcado. I was ready to search the premises with a fresh perspective. Here? No one's watching me from the little window. With the sun in my eyes, it was impossible to make out their face. I went around the building to try and reach whoever it was, but it was too late. They were gone. Footprints. Footprints made by high-heel shoes. I was almost certain I hadn't seen them when I had been here earlier that day. They suggested that they were prints left by Inez Belcado. I don't know what she came to look for here, but it was important enough that she came back to check again after her first visit with Pedro. Was she the person that caught spy on me through the little window? Seemed likely. Fortunately, after a long search of the premises, I had to face facts. There were no more useful clues at the factory. There was nothing for me to do but go back and question Pedro and hope he'd be more cooperative this time. Hola, Senor Fox. Went back to the disused factory. ¿Por qué? Raymond not there now. Your friend Inez. She went back without you. She's doing her own investigation. I think she's in danger. No lo conozca. Pedro, if you care about her, if you don't want her to end up like Raymond, you have to talk to me. There's a moment of hesitation, and Pedro finally took out his pipe. Inez, I did what I could to protect her, but if she won't stop it, yes, I'm afraid she'll end up like Raymond. You know what she's looking for? At the factory? A notebook. A diary of Abel Smith. Raymond's had it. What's in his diary? Enough information about what's going on at the Greenhearth to create a fine national scandal. How? After Raymond's death, she decided to take matters into her own hands. She thinks the diary will keep her safe, but she's ready to call in the press if the situation escalates too much. The diary. Do you know where it is? No, I told you it wasn't at the factory when we went there. Thought for a moment. Magnus Lindgren had been to the factory too. When I asked him the question about the 10, he failed to mention this Abel Smith. He have lied to me? Had he gone to the factory before Pedro and Ines to find that notebook? I have to go back and ask him. He seemed cooperative, but would he want to give me that notebook? Thanks, Pedro. What are you going to do, Fox? I'm going to get that diary. You know where it is. I've got some idea. Very well, Detective. I can see you want to keep to yourself, but be careful. That notebook. It may be one of the reasons Raymond is dead. Do you think someone would be ready to kill to get a hold of it? I don't know, Fox. Perhaps. I need to rethink my conclusions. Was Magnus Raymond's murderer? Pedro seemed convinced that the diary was motive enough. As for his presence at the factory, maybe he was watching the crime scene? A crime that he had committed, and that's how he saw Pedro and Ines there? Certainly need to be extra careful now. There are even one death since the beginning of my investigation. I really didn't want a second. For my part, I'll try and convince Ines to meet with you. My moments of lucidity are too short, but perhaps you can persuade her to listen to reason. What do you mean by my moments of lucidity? Can you tell me more? It's since the incident, but it would take too long to explain. Sorry, but you have to just accept that we can only talk for a few minutes at a time, for now at least. That's why I'm counting on you for Ines. I'll tell you more when I'm able. Okay, I'll come back and see you when I've got hold of that notebook. A little visit to Magnus Lindgren was called for. Back we go. Detective, you've got Abel Smith's notebook. Hi. Oh, there it is. I know you've got it. What? How? Never mind. Yes, I put Abel Smith's notebook somewhere safe. I'd like to take a look at it. No, out of the question. It's too dangerous. This notebook. How did you get a hold of it? I knew that Raymond had it. And you know where it was hidden? I guess it would be at the factory. And Ines gone to Arthur's cabin in search of this diary? I found a cigarette butt there too, and that mysterious carved symbol. So it was for the diary that you broke into Arthur's cabin in the woods. How did you know? Never mind, you're a detective after all. Yes, I thought it would be there, but it wasn't. Realized that Ines was looking for it, I beat her to it. All information, if that information became public, the authorities. A death warrant for all of us. If that diary is so dangerous, why didn't you destroy it when you found it? I didn't even think about that. And it's our story. Our memoir. I couldn't resolve myself to rid of it. I see. Look, Magnus, I need to get that diary one way or another. Billy Fox, it's out of the question. Too dangerous. Leave me alone now. Magnus stood up and left the diner. He wasn't gonna give in. I'd have to find some other way to get a hold of that diary. Maybe someone at Greenhearth could help me pay a visit to Magnus's home? If I didn't find a diary there, maybe there'd be clues to point me in the right direction. Time to call one of my allies for a favor. Just try Gianna. I don't like her enough. Ask to enter Magnus's apartment. I'd like to get into Magnus Lindgren's apartment. Can I ask why? Magnus has in his possession a notebook that belongs to one of Petrovsky's patients. According to my source, it contains vital information for the investigation. Team, could you tell me who your source is, please? Pedro. Farah? You mean the mechanic? Really? Yes, really. How am I surprised? How should I put this? I know what you're getting at. I promise you Pedro's a lot less backward than he might seem at first glance. First season Lost Man, which is pretty rare in Greenhearth, and I swear he has moments of astonishing lucidity. You're right, Fox. I shouldn't judge. Anyway, I'm sure now that Lindgren is implicated in Petrovsky's death in some way or another. Perhaps even in Raymond's murder. So, as well as the notebook, you're hoping to find other clues in his apartment? Exactly. Gianna sighs. I'm sorry, Fox. I'd like to help you, but with Raymond's death, the feds are going to be here any moment. In the interest of the investigation, I need to be on reproach. If my involvement gets out, I'll be strict to my duties. As for you, I'd once again suggest you practice the utmost discretion and prudence. So, do I have your blessing? Don't ask me to repeat it in court, but yes, you've got my blessing. Can you find someone to help me break into Magnus's home? Which, we've got one option left. Ernest. How do you get into Magnus's apartment? Magnus Lindgren. Oh, well, now, I can help you get in, of course, but only if you allow me this question. What are you looking for there? Suspect him of Raymond's murder. Really? I'm surprised. Mr. Lindgren has always been a law-abiding citizen, until now at least. On the other hand, these recent events have certainly disturbed Petrovsky's patience. Who knows what they are capable of in reality? I don't know what to think, Bull. Lacking any evidence, I hope I can cross him off the list of suspects. So, what are we waiting for to get going? I'd asked the important questions concerning the clues found at the morgue, and something told me there was no time to lose. Let's go, Bull. After you. Excellent. Magnus Lindgren's apartment was located in a nice town center building. Ernest and I had to get into the building. I got into the building and... I felt wrong. It was Jody. He was worried. I'd called my contact. Things were moving fast. I gave him a detailed update on how the investigation was going. Very soon, I'd have my revenge. Jody asked if I'd be back soon. Stop! I have to focus. I mustn't let myself be taken over by these parasitic memories. Ernest and I had gotten to the building. We went up to the 3rd floor, and Bull got his lockpicks out. Less than a minute later, we were inside Magnus's apartment. Magnus' interior design choices in his home contrasted strangely with the old man's gruff exterior. Why had he chosen to live in this modern, almost sterile interior? Bull kept watch in front of the apartment. All he had to do was get to work. Picture. Photo of Arthur with 2 young women. One of them matched the description of Ines Belcader, and for the other one? Was this Adeline Lefebvre? One of the Greenhearth 10 named by Lindgren? What is with this cat? I can't even investigate it. It's a safe. Can't do anything with it. I'm getting close to something. The cup. Cup with some dragged tea had been left on the coffee table. The lipstick marks let me conclude that Magnus had had a visitor recently. Oh, the gun. A gun, a .45 caliber. What's it doing under the couch? This was a weapon that was used to kill Raymond. It felt too easy just finding it here. Someone trying to frame Magnus? Yes. Now that I'd gone over the apartment, a scenario began to come together in my mind. If Magnus had at one point the notebook that I'd come here to find, it was clearly no longer in his apartment. My gut told me that he didn't have it any longer. Ines Belcader had beaten me to it and come to see him. She must have tried to convince him to give her Abel Smith's notebook. Ines had probably refused. But Ines had taken it for herself and used the opportunity to leave that gun behind in order to frame Magnus for Raymond's murder. I have to go and question Magnus. If he'd already noticed the notebook's disappearance, he must be furious. Another question intrigued me. How had Ines gotten hold of that gun? Was she the murderer? It was getting more and more urgent that I questioned her. Will was waiting for me at the apartment entry. It seemed wiser for us not to hang around longer, but I promised to stop by the hotel and let him know what I found out. Liz. I got to the diner. Liz wasn't there. However, I was surprised to find myself face to face with Oscar Morrison. Mr. Fox, what brings you here? Let me guess. You can see Miss Cole. I believe she's unwell at present. But don't worry, everything will soon be better. Look, Morrison, I don't know what game you're playing, but let me say it, you're seriously starting to get on my nerves. What exactly are you up to? Why are you trying to unite the patients? Oh, you're better informed than I suppose, detective. Let's say I'm trying to halt the machinery which is running amok in Greenhearth. And I need the 10 to do that. As for you, I have trusted you with my most prized possession, and I'm counting on you to keep it safe. Now, if you excuse me, have a wonderful day. Wait. I've got questions for you. I have nothing more to say to you, Mr. Fox. Leave me. Let me leave, please. Everything is finished. When we can speak freely, I'll explain everything. Till then, please don't try to follow me. I seem terrified. Suddenly I felt the cold metal of the bell hidden in my side hidden in my inside pocket. Cold sweat crept up my back, and I gave an involuntary shudder. Oscar turned left without a backwards glance. It took me a minute or two to collect myself. I learned nothing of any value. I should have listened to him. I should have left that cursed place while I still could. For Liz, I hope she was okay. Her absence worried me, but there was nothing I could do to help her. Magnus. Detective? I suspected that you'd be back to see me. I suppose you've come for the notebook? You're too late. Oh, really? What happened? Ines. She came to my home to talk. Suspected nothing, and she used that to steal the notebook from me. Any idea how I could get it back? I don't know, Fox. Ines is scared out of her wits. I told you she's got more to lose than most of the other patients. Why? After the incident, she became very close with another survivor of the Viracocha project, Adeline Lefebvre. I believe they might be the only two among us to have built something to found happiness. Now I understand. Perhaps if you mention their partner, you might be able to reason with her. That's all I can tell you, I'm afraid, Fox. Adeline Lefebvre, Ines and her seem to have been keeping out of it, at least until Ines's visit to Arthur's cabin. According to Magnus, they lived together in Greenhearth. I had to find a way to question her as well. But first, above all, I need to convince Ines to give me the notebook, and this Adeline seemed to be the key of getting her to see reason. Talk about the gun. Found a gun hidden in your home. Oh, so it was you who broke into my apartment. How dare you? Look, Magnus, if you trusted the notebook to me, we wouldn't be in this mess. You may be right, Fox. I should have trusted you. As for this gun, I assure you I don't own any firearms. What? Wait, you think it is the gun that was used to kill Raymond? Promise you, it wasn't I who did it. You believe me, don't you? I believe you. If you want to know what I think someone's trying to frame you. Yes, I don't believe she'd be capable of that, Detective. Who else? She got into your apartment and stole a notebook from you. She could very well have used the opportunity to leave you an unwanted gift. Did someone suggested it to her. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. I'm tired, Fox. I'm tired of this whole business. I decided and lit another cigarette. That's for me. I'm gonna follow Oscar Morrison. Follow Oscar Morrison? Where? He wants us to meet. Finish all this once and for all. I don't know more than that. Magnus gave a small wave and left the diner, leaving a swirl of blue smoke behind him. Nothing remained but for me to do the same, and to hope that Ines would respond to the mention of Adeline Lefebvre. Pedro. Pedro was waiting for me. He promised to talk to Ines. I sincerely hope he managed to convince her to meet me. Hola, Senor Fox. Friend of me is okay to talk with you. Thanks, Pedro. It'll be okay for her, yes. Not bad thing happened like my friend Raymond. Don't worry, Pedro. I'll be discreet. I promise. If I can convince her to give me a notebook, I think she'll be out of danger. Yes, Senor Fox. I trust you. Pedro didn't look as reassured. How could I blame him? Follow me. Walked with him into a little alley behind a downtown building. Ines was waiting for us. Pedro let me know he had work to do in the garage and left immediately. Over to the young woman who didn't look particularly pleased to meet me. Right, I believe you wanted to see me. I'm listening. Say what you've got and leave me alone. Want to help you. Ines, let me help you. You can't do anything for me. I've got the notebook. That's all the safety I need. You're wrong. The notebook puts a target on your back. Well, you've got it. You'll be in danger. Oh, I don't plan to keep it long. I'm going to contact the press. Well, this town is crawling with journalists. They won't be able to hurt us anymore. Hey, who are you talking about? Tilkit, the foreman. They'll be back now that we remember. I can't let them do that. I've got too much to lose now. It made it difficult to get her to see reason, and I still hadn't mentioned the gun I found at Magnus's. And they told me I should keep that to myself until later, if I want a chance of getting a hold of that notebook. Paranoia seemed out of control, but maybe I could turn that to my advantage? Magnus had spoken of her partner, Adeline Lefebvre. If I mentioned her, surely there was a chance she might entrust me with a notebook. That was what I hoped. You're doing this for Adeline, aren't you? Adeline, how do you know? It doesn't matter in this. It doesn't matter. but if you want to protect Adeline, you need to give me that notebook and promise me you'll keep a low profile. You could even leave town. What do you say? Do you think so? Do you really think they'd let me leave with Adeline? I'm sure. You weren't in a position you weren't in a position of responsibility before the incident, were you? No, that's true, but Adeline, in that case, don't draw attention to yourself. If you contact the press, there's sure to be reprisals. You really believe that a few journalists are going to stop them? And who's to say they haven't got control of the media? Yes, you might be right. I took a deep breath. So, Ines, what do you say? Are you ready to give me the notebook? I don't have it on me. I'm gonna let Adeline know, and I'll come back and give it to you before we leave town. You've convinced me. Thank you, Ines. You've made the right decision. We'll meet back here. I'll be in touch. I need a chance to update the sheriff. And I promise to stop in and see Ernest Bull. Well, let's just go to Gianna. I'm trying to avoid Ernest. Gianna was getting ready to leave. Came to update you on the investigation. Oh, sorry, Fox. I was just leaving the office. It'll have to wait, I'm afraid. Something to do with the case. Yes. No. I just got some unpleasant orders from my superiors, but I don't have time to tell you anymore. Things are speeding up, Fox, and our window for solving this case is getting smaller, I'm afraid. The feds are coming back to Greenhearth. That's inevitable now, but if I obey my orders, that should give us a few more days. We'll talk later. I knew Gianna well enough now not to argue. I let her go. A few minutes later, my phone rang. Ness was telling me to meet her to get Abel Smith's notebook. Avoiding Ernest. When I reached the meeting point with Ines, she wasn't there. I was instantly assailed with my doubts. Had something happened to her? My fault? There were clues on the scene which would explain what had happened while I was gone. I searched for them immediately. In here. An earring. It looked like the ones Ines wore if my memory didn't deceive me. A little cosmetics. Compact? It says cosmetics bag, but it looks like a compact. Mirror had been broken in the fall. The notebook I'd come to find had landed between two trash cans. Luck? Open at the first page. Written in round, almost childlike writing, this is the diary of Abel Smith. The dot on the eye of Smith was drawn heart-shaped. There was no doubt. Certainly one of Arthur's patients. I leafed quickly through it. The writing seemed to change from one page to the next. The several people had scrawled the pages in turn. So I had to leave reading it in detail for later. I'd have plenty of time to study it quietly, and I didn't plan on spending much time in this dark little street. These items in mind, the course of events seemed obvious. Ines had come back to wait for me with the notebook. No one had surprised her. There had been an altercation, probably violent. Ines had dropped Abel Smith's notebook unless she had the presence of mind to throw it behind a trash can for me to find, and hoped that her attacker didn't find it first. For my part, I hoped the young woman was safe and sound with the Greenhearth town marker in her rear view mirror. Deep down, I guess that wasn't the case. As I was getting ready to leave, I noticed a large figure blocking the exit to the alleyway. There was no point trying to run. I was trapped at the end of the alley. Let the man approach me, calmly. Some idea who he was. Harry Graham, I presume. Got it in one, buddy. I think it's time you and I had a chat. And that's why I'm here. Listen, Ricky and the 10 are getting ready to leave for the hospital. Hospital? Research facility where the Viracocha project took place, if you prefer. You've heard of Viracocha project, right? I nodded. Anyway, thought I'd suggest you come with me. I think we could do with a guy like you with us if we're not gonna kill each other. What do you say? My leads were drying up one by one. All the patients in the same place. It was a perfect opportunity to finally resolve this case. Finally understand why Arthur was dead. Solve Raymond's murder. You asked so nicely, how can I say no? Right answer, buddy. Wanna talk, right? If you've got questions, now's the time. You got stuff to sort out in town before we move out? No problemo. Do what you gotta do, I'll wait here. I'm gonna go talk with Ernest now, I guess. So, how has the clue hunting been? It's been good? Yes and no. The notebook I was looking for wasn't in the apartment. I was able to get it from one of Petrovsky's patients. Excellent news, Fox. What's in it? To be honest, I haven't had time to read it yet, but I think it's definitely the work of one of Petrovsky's patients. As for what's in it, I'm afraid it's going to be difficult to decipher. And there was a gun. A gun? Do you think it was the weapons he used to kill Raymond? That's impossible to say without a ballistics report, and after the fire at the morgue, there's a good chance there won't be enough evidence anyway. Do you think Magnus Lindgren is the perpetrator? Hard to say. There's every reason to believe that the person who stole the notebook from Magnus' home also left that clue behind. Behind them. Tell me, Detective, who is that person? Ines Belkader. Do you know her? Yes, of course. I know exactly who she is. She's the person you were looking for yesterday, isn't she? She is. Frankly, Mr. Fox, I don't believe she's responsible for Raymond's death. She managed to build a good life here in Greenhearth, and she's more stable than most of Petrovsky's patients. True, but that could also actually be a motive. Although, if we assume she didn't kill Raymond, how did she get hold of the murder weapon? That's what I'm asking myself, Bull. Fortunately, I don't know if I'll get the chance to ask her. She's supposed to deliver the notebook herself, but she didn't turn up. That's unfortunate. Bull took a deep breath. Well, thank you for coming to fill me in, Mr. Fox. I'm touched by your trust in me. Truly. Promise is a promise. For me, I'm going to take some interest in the case of Oscar Morrison. He's up to something. From what I can gather, he's trying to unite the patients. Exactly, but for what? I don't know. To say that I'll be away from the hotel for a while. Really, I'm not sure I'll be able to manage without your lock-picking skills, Ernest. You're a man of resource, Fox. You'll figure something out. I have no doubt about that at all. Wait, I take my leave. See you later, Bull. Alright, let's question Terry. Tell me about your past. What did you do at the hospital? There's not much to tell. I was in charge of security. After the incident, I could have lived on that little pension the authorities gave us, but I took some little jobs to keep me in shape and stop myself from moping around like some of the 10. Like Raymond? For example, yeah. Then Petrovsky came, and that seriously screwed up the clockwork of Greenhearth. Try to remember stuff I've forgotten, stuff I wasn't supposed to know. I wasn't supposed to know. Is that what's happening to me? You know the rest. Ness, did you fight with her? I came here to find Ines Belkader. All I found are signs of balance. Did I give her a beating? Certainly not. You saw me following you here, didn't you? If something happened to Ines, it's got nothing to do with me. Alright. Mystery remain. Who could have ambushed Ines in this alley? Why did they leave the notebook? Most of all, where's Ines now? A lot of questions with no answers. Were you looking for in Arthur's cabin? The bell, of course. I wanted to get it before someone else got their mitts on it. I thought it would be at Arthur's, but by the time I found out about the cabin, it was gone. I thought Morrison or the sheriff had got hold of it. And according to Oscar, it's in a safe deposit box at Greenhearth Bank, a box only Arthur had the access code for. I didn't seem to know that I had the bell in my possession. It seemed wiser not to set him straight. You know what it's for precisely? The bell? I was just security. I can tell you the main study of the Veracocha project was about that bell. And the incident that ended the research. Yes, it was because of the bell. You understand why I'm glad none of the 10 have gotten hold of it? I see. You're afraid a new incident will happen. Exactly. But don't ask me what happened. Please. Painful memories like the others? Something like that. Yeah. Let's leave it at that, if that's okay. Ready to go, I guess. Ready to leave for the hospital. In that case... Whoa. One shot was enough to make Ines Belkader collapse like a ragdoll. A bullet through the heart. Point blank range. Actually didn't suffer much, was a poor consolation. I had no idea what she was doing in this alley. But it was to my business as well, or rather the Bureau's business. That was the moment I decided I'd had enough. Enough of their curt commands, enough of being a pawn in their game. Stop! Those strange memories again. Those memories that didn't belong to me. Focus, Ricky. For Christ's sake. Yes, Terry. The hospital. And that was where Oscar Morrison wanted to take the patients. After waiting all these years, I was finally going to unlock the secrets of Greenhearth. The next few hours promised to be extremely rich in revelations. My brother, after death, would finally be avenged. followed Morrison along the forest path. Pedro, Farah, Liz Cole, Adam Lefebvre. He managed to convince them to follow him. But what for? I didn't know. Behind the rusty bar is a huge building, abandoned for years, to the ravages of time. It's where everything began. That's the end of episode 2? Well, that's the end of episode 2, so as his sanity slips away... I'm glad I split that, by the way. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Player2PR, for the code. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, and or subscribing. If you really enjoyed it, consider supporting the channel. All support greatly helps her keep being content like this and more. Find links for that in the description below, along with links to me on social media. So thank you again for watching, and until next time, this is Renny and T signing out. Bye!